All right. All right. I think that we're live in the group, Aaron. I am incredibly excited. Give it here just a second for people to roll in. But if you're tuning in, if you are watching live, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I am so incredibly excited to introduce our guest today, which is Mr. Aaron LeBauer, I think it's safe to say, one of the godfathers of cash-based physical therapy, the Cash PT rock star, and the author of his book, The Cash PT Blueprint. Aaron, it is an absolute honor to have you in the group and on the podcast.
Hey, Will, thanks for being here. It's an honor to be here and share with you guys some info and chat. It's always great hearing from you guys and I don't know, chatting, hearing what you guys have to say, and you guys are totally crushing it. So thanks for having me.
Well, we owe a lot of that to you, and I'm absolutely humbled to have you on here because I think there are quite a few people who have personal brands in the industry, but yours is way up there in terms of recognizable of people who you've impacted. And I think far beyond probably just the people who've told you you've impacted them, you've had an impact on them because you've done some amazing things. And one, just being vocal about what's possible for people. And if for somehow someone is just coming across you for the very first time, Aaron, if this is the first time that they've seen you, do you mind just giving us a brief background about how you got into cash-based physical therapy?
Yeah. Do you want my brief 5-minute story of how Cash PT, or how I became a physical therapist and then why Cash PT?
Ooh, yeah. Let's do the how you became a physical therapist. And then
okay.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, it all started really with me being in college and not knowing what to do. I was a pre-med student. And I didn't survive not like I didn't survive the first day of organic chemistry. I didn't want my life to be that, I didn't want 4 hours of homework a night for something I got an A in the previous semester. And I was like, shoot, this stuff is really hard. I have to do all this just to, oh my God, there's a better way. There's gotta be a better way. So after college, I tried to get a real job. I think say air quotes, real job. I showed up my first, interview wearing a suit, and they're like, this is in California, and they're like, we don't dress that formally here. And I was like, oh, okay, but you're supposed to wear a suit to your job interview. They're like, yeah, and they didn't hire me. So the next job interview, I wore a sweater and I got called back, but I still didn't get hired.
Oh man.
So, it wasn't meant to be. This is just like answering the phones at Sierra Designs to say, hey, are your tent poles broken? Here, let me return some to you. I mean, I couldn't get hired for those kinds of fun jobs. So I became a bike messenger. I did that for a while. And what I really wanted to do was race bikes. So I became a massage therapist, and I was able to maintain, have my fun life and work to do something that was meaningful. Yeah. And so in massage therapy, I was able to see people for an hour and do all this great stuff with them. But, I was like, oh, it's going to be a massage. It's going to be great. I can work with my hands. And the majority of people started coming to see me were telling me, Aaron, I've been to PT, chiropractor, acupuncture, physician, had medications, injections, surgery, etc. And no one's been able to touch me where I hurt before until I came to see you. No one's ever helped me with this problem until you started working with me. I've never felt better. I was just like, wow, okay, great. So I kind of changed my practice a little bit to focus on marketing to people who are in pain. And my wife was like, Aaron, you need to go to PT school. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't need to go to PT school. I'm doing what I want. Well, long story shorter, I ended up going to PT school, but only after we moved because it was inconvenient for me to try to go in California. We moved to North Carolina. I was able to take 2 classes, take the GRE, and get into Elon. And on my first clinical rotation, I saw 43 patients one day, and I couldn't do the hands-on care I knew I needed, and I knew the patients needed to do. And, I was like, holy cow, I can't do this. I can't work as a PT in this kind of environment. I'm gonna have to do something different. And it was really on that clinical rotation that I decided, okay, I'm just gonna have to probably open a cash practice. And my CI told me, no one's ever gonna pay more than their copay for PT. Well, as the next few years went on, I developed the idea of what I was going to do. And, I was seeing people for massage already at $85. And I thought, well, people pay an extra $10 now that I'm Dr. LeBauer, won't they? But every PT out there was like, nope, you can't do it. It's unethical. Don't do it. I can't believe you would actually want to charge someone money for PT. What? And I'm like, but I'm getting $85 for massage. It's like, this has got to work, right? So, and I did it, with 2 kids on the way. And the main reason, the big reason why, was because I didn't want to feel pressured to treat someone a specific way because of how their insurance is going to pay or how their physician thought they needed to be treated. Because the physicians were, like, oh, so-and-so's got hip bursitis. They're not really, they need 3 times a week for 12 weeks. And what if I disagree? I don't want that, I don't want that to come in between me and my patient. I want my patient and I to create a therapeutic alliance and team. And so that's Cash PT. That's why. That's the main reason.
Yeah. I think it's so cool. And I love that you're open about your journey. And I always think it's so fascinating that you came from a world of cash and having to sell massage.
Mm-hmm.
You had to, I should ask, I'm assuming back then people didn't come in and get reimbursed for massage.
No.
So just purely cash transaction.
Yeah, it's purely cash transaction.
Okay.
And people know what to expect. They know it's a massage that most people think it's relaxing. And what I did was a little different, wasn't that relaxing, but it wasn't like, the physical terrorist they think we are sometimes too. So,
well, I think I think it's so interesting to have someone come from a different perspective where you're used to having to sell your services to our world of physical therapy, traditional physical therapy, where the physician sells someone for you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're going to go see Aaron. It's already agreed upon. Insurance will take care of it. But I'm so excited, and I really want to dive in a little bit to your new book, The Cash PT Blueprint, which if you haven't gotten it yet and you want a copy, please comment book, and I will get you the link to Aaron's new book. So if you comment book at any point throughout this, I will make sure and go back and get you the link to Aaron's new book, which is absolutely phenomenal. But Aaron, I want to go back to when you started out doing this. What were some of those inner beliefs that you had? I think there are a lot of people watching this right now in our group who are working a job that they don't like, would like a way out of it, that are probably going through certain thoughts right now that are keeping them back. Did you have any sort of self-doubt? Were there any of those emotions or worries, fears? You said you had two kids on the way.
Yeah.
Like, was any of this playing into your mind of making this business decision to go out on your own?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the fear and doubt was put there by other people, because I'm like, well, I'm going to do this. And they're like, like I'm already charging $85 an hour for massage. Like, I can't go get a job that I want. I can't go, why am I going to go get a job working for $40 an hour when people are paying me 85 already? How am I going to get a job? Like, I want to be a primary care physical therapist. Okay. Can we create a primary care physical therapist position at the hospital or primary care group? Sure. But with reimbursement rates, even when I graduated in 2009, like United Healthcare was like, we're going to do $38 no matter what you do. It's like, I can't see one person in a half hour and, like generate hundreds of thousands of dollars, in like billable units, that's just not possible. And so I was like, well, this is going to work. But everyone around me, I told my professors, everybody was like, that doesn't work. That's not how physical therapy works. And it was like, okay, maybe this won't work. But if it doesn't work, what am I going to do? I'll just go get a job at the hospital. Okay. It's like, or I'll just stay a massage therapist with more knowledge. But why would I do that? I just spent 3 years in school. Like, there's going to be something else. But the fear and doubt was put there by other people who didn't believe in it for themselves. So they wanted me to not believe in it, or if it's not believable for me, then how could it be possible for anyone else? It's kind of the underlying message that happens, and that happens for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that's so huge, because I think if you're not surrounded by a group of people who are going to be able to support what you do, it just makes it all that much tougher. Which is why I think it's so incredible what you've built with your mastermind program and how you're helping unite so many cash PTs together to actually level up and have a community where people feel supported, and to do that. I'm really super fascinated. I'm just going to assume that a lot of people have heard of you before, Aaron, for a second.
Sure. If they haven't, they can go check it, Google me, and they'll find it.
I'm super interested just from my point of view, because you have gone from being kind of a pioneer in this. I think there probably were cash PTs prior to you, but maybe they weren't vocal about it, or they weren't sharing what they were doing or learning. So in my world, you're one of the first to actually, you and Jared Carter and then Paul as well, were the three that I first ever came across in school 4 or 5 years ago, talking about the idea of fee for service, cash-based PT. What have you seen change over the last 3, 4, 5 years of you doing this, working with people? How many, I should even ask, like, how many cash PTs do you think you've worked with at this point?
That's a great question.
Gotta be in the hundreds by
Yeah.
now.
Well, it depends. I've put probably close to 600 easy plus some other change and people through my course, the Cash PT Blueprint. So probably about, I think I had 600 plus about 150 something in a program where they had access to it. So I put about 750 people through my course. Wow. And then I've had, I've sold thousands of my Cash PT Toolkit downloads. And a lot of those people don't go on to the courses. And then we've sold, I don't know. So, I mean, just in that, plus the 5,000 people in the Facebook group, like we've helped thousands of people, and people tell me every day, Aaron, you don't know me, but you've helped me do X, Y, and Z, which is really cool. I think that the big difference is that, yes, there were people doing it, but they weren't sharing and teaching how to do it. They weren't, you know, what makes me so special? Well, I have red hair. I'm 6'3", and for that I used to get picked on in high school. Now it makes me more visible, but it's something where I just decided, like, I had to share this with other people, you know, and like I love it. I love seeing other people. I'm in the helping profession for a reason. You know, I became a massage therapist and a physical therapist. Now I'm helping other physical therapists grow their business because I want to see people change their life and do something they didn't believe in before was possible, whether it's with pain or with their business or their family life. And I think it's just so great. And yeah, there's a ton of people, but I can't quantify exactly how many. So it's really cool. I don't know if you asked me another question in there, I can't remember it, but you know.
No. I'm going to ask you again, because I want to say for on your behalf, I would say at least 10,000 plus, tens of thousands of people. We know, I can say safely for you, Aaron, that tens of thousands of people have been impacted. When I said hundreds, I was thinking like intimately one-on-one, like with them in their businesses. I'm sure you've gotten to see real up close and personal what people have been doing in their cash practices, implementing the systems that you're doing. I would love to know, like, what do you feel like now, say from 4 or 5 years ago, when at least that's when I first came across you. Do you feel like people who are interested in this idea of going out on their own, what has changed from 4 or 5 years ago when you first started to now? Has there been a change in the mindset? Do we still have a long way to go?
Yeah, I think two things have changed. One, it's no longer a question of, is cash-based therapy going to work? It's more of like, do you actually want to do it? Right. You know, do you want to do cash-based or in network or whatever, you know, something else? It's like, it works. It's like, there's plenty of people out there. It's like, it's not a question of will it work? The people questioning it got their head in the sand. The other thing that's changed is, I think because it's working 4 or 5 years ago or longer, people who did it they really almost had to kind of do it on their own. You know, I was there, and Jared and I have had information on how to do it, but it's really, you had to really kind of push harder against like the tide. Now it's not as hard. It's still hard, but I think there are people coming into it who are trying, more of them are trying to escape a bad job than actually start a business. And I think that that's the big thing that's different. And it's okay to want to escape a bad job. And you think a cash practice might work, but people get in and they try it and they dip their toe in and go, ooh, wait a minute. No, that's, whether it's too much work or it's too scary, it's too uncertain. I think a lot of times it's the uncertainty of owning a business that people don't like because they were in a job because of the certainty, and they're getting out of it because it sucks. And they look at that and they go, this is the great idea. And they get there and they go, oh, wait a minute, there's some uncertainty here. I don't like it. So then that's okay too. But that's the big thing. Those are the big trends from where the chair I'm sitting in that have really changed.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching this live, guys, if you're in the group, go ahead and comment live. Let us know you're here. Dwayne, thank you so much for hopping in. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and comment replay. Let us know that you're here. And if you've thought about having a cash PT practice, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we would love to hear from you. If you've been thinking about starting a cash practice, if it's been on your mind, or you already have one and have been struggling, let us know. Just comment cash PT if you are a cash PT or you'd like to start your own cash practice. And with that in mind, Aaron, I would love to ask, what do you feel like, you now having seen hundreds one-on-one with people, tens of thousands of people go through this, what do you feel like are the attributes of someone who will have the most likelihood of having success starting out a cash practice, or to maintain, if they're in it and they're wondering like, am I cut out for this? What do you find are some of the common attributes of people who have had success?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the number one, well, I think I had this great thought there from him. I was like, oh, but then I had to listen to the rest of your question. So, I'm trying to do my best listening, but I think the big attributes are, so like a cash practice is basically just a higher friction business than an in-network clinic. So, whether you're going to open an in-network clinic or a cash practice, you have to actually be willing to take some risk, because opening an in-network clinic, I would think, is even more risky these days, because insurance reimbursement is declining, and it's a known fact, and you're going to have to be creative. So if you want to own a business, you've got to actually have risk tolerance. You've got to have some support from your community and family, and you have to be able and willing to invest in yourself and keep trying. And like, what I mean is keep trying is when you see failure, you don't stop and quit and run home. You just go, okay, that didn't work. Let's find a different way to make it work. It's like, if I run up to a building and the door's closed, I'm going to keep going around the corner and see which door is open. I'm not going to keep trying to bash my head through the same door and try to find a locksmith and then maybe a plunger and then like try to climb in through the small window. I'm not going to try to keep going through the closed door. I'm going to try to figure out is there another way around it. And so part of that's problem solving. I think that those are the main things. And I think if we're going to talk about cash practice versus something else, like a big part of it's business, but if we're going to look at cash practice, you really have to want to do this for your patients and for yourself, not for the dollars, and not for like any other reason, because certainly an in-network clinic's more easily scalable. We could probably generate more money there, especially if we were using the marketing strategies that I have to use to get patients in the door. Marketing and sales, if you use my marketing and sales strategies in an in-network clinic, you're going to totally crush it. And so you have to be willing to be creative and take risks and invest in yourself and not stop when approached with failure. You just really have to have that. And you have to know and understand your why. Like, why am I doing this? Why would I want to go through all of this? And when I could just go and get a home health job for $110,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah. It's been so fascinating to weigh things up. And Michael Highland says, thanks to you, Aaron, he has a practice, which has to be awesome to hear.
That's so great.
Dwayne says cash PT would never go back, business owner for life. I think, Aaron, I'd love to ask, because someone like Dwayne or Michael who are on their journey right now, where do you find people get stuck? Let's say that someone is either in the process of starting or they've been in this for a year, maybe 2 years. Where do you find people hitting road bumps? Are there certain things? And let's just start there. Do you see any common road bumps that people go hit up against?
Yeah, I think for people getting started, it's measuring success. Okay, how do I measure success?
Yeah.
For people that have been in it for a while, it's okay. Like, all right, how do I, not just measuring success, but it's how do I want to get back my time rather than just get back, just get an ROI on money. I want an ROI on time. And sometimes that's hiring other people. And a lot of times when you got into this because you were just trying to save yourself, you didn't want to hire other people. And that was, I got to this point after 5 years. I was like, oh, if I want more time, I want more success. It's not more money. It's more time. It's more time than I need with my family. And I need to hire other people. I need to hire other people to help other people. And so how do I replicate myself is the roadblock that people get into. They think they can't replicate themselves and it won't be as good because people are paying me $200 to see Aaron LeBauer, and they would never pay $200 to see Derek Nielsen, but they did. And it was fine. It was all about positioning. So those are the two roadblocks. Number one is, people get in and they measure, they're like, I don't have any patients. It's been 3 months. okay, well, like maybe there's something wrong, in the messaging, not in the treatment. And we're all really great at treating patients, but in order to have a successful business, we have to meet certain criteria, which you have to be talking to the right person or the right market, and you have to be saying the right things so the right message, and you have to have the right offer. If those things don't match up, then it's going to be hard for people to do business with you.
Yeah. Man, measuring success, I think is I'm so glad you said that, because I think it's something that gets overlooked, that it can be really simple. Well, it's got to be money, number of patients. But when you're working with someone early on, how do you help them determine what, and I know success can be different for everyone, but how do you help people early on see success that might not just be a financial number being hit?
Right.
Or is that the main focus? I guess I should ask that.
Well, yes. I mean, like, so it's really hard. And yes, it's like, I've got to get you, if you come work with me, I've got to get you some kind of result quick. Right. And if you don't have a way to get cash flow, like I can't get you a cash flow result. Or if you're just starting out, it's like, really, the cash flow result is really hard. So what are the metrics of success? And maybe I even need to do more work on this myself. Like, how do I help other people understand this? Because, well, what's that first metric of success? Is it, okay, we've got your business set up, which can take weeks sometimes. You're able to see a patient. Okay, you had your first patient in the door. Like, your first patient in the door is not going to pay for all the fees that you've used to set up your business and invest in your business and pay for a massage table or any coaching or whatever you're doing. And that's a great measure of success. But success is also, here's what I accomplished this week. I spent 20 hours working on my business. I spent 10 hours working with patients, and I don't answer to anybody but myself. Like, to me, like, that's success. And it's like, am I happy doing that? So yeah, that's tough. And like, even on my call with my coach this morning, he was like, I got to, let me ask you this question. He's like, what's your ROI in lifestyle and time freedom? And I was like, Bedros, it's an awesome question. And that's when I was like, well, I know I've spent 60 something days, out of town with my family or friends this year. And so I went and calculated, it was like 81 days this year, out of town with family or friends. Like, that's more than last year. And so how do we do that? We just have to look at everything around us and not just, be focused on like one or two metrics, because the other metrics will come into play. They're really hard. And that's the mindset shift from being an employee to an entrepreneur. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
And I would say, going back, Will, to your other thing, like, what's harder between a cash practice and in-network practice? It's valuation of ourselves and our time and our skill. That's probably the big one, is that people, I kind of overlooked that because I never, luckily I got exposed to it, but that was why I was able, and one of the reasons I was able to out the door be successful charging more. So, well, I valued my time so much that I wasn't going to go take a job for half of what I felt like I was worth. And people getting into cash practice need to learn that just because the copay was 50 or 75 or 100, their time was valued at $300 and something dollars, or even I've seen $600 a unit. So their time is valued much higher than what they realize. And that's a big gap that has to be overcome with people.
Yeah, man, that part's huge. And I want to dive into that in a second. I want to ask people who are watching right now, how would you define success for you? Dwayne, I know you're on here. Michael, I saw Brian was on here a second ago. What would success mean for you? If you have a cash practice or you would like to start one, what does success mean for you? What would that look like? Is it more about time? Is it more about money? Is it more about lifestyle? Would love to know what you find being success for you. If you're listening to the podcast, you don't have to type anything, just think out loud. What does it mean for you? It's something to really think about as Aaron's diving into it. So Aaron, I want to ask Dwayne's question before it adds way too far down into my feed. He says, Dwayne Scotty asks, would love to hear Aaron's thoughts on first step of scaling business. Would you do digital products versus hiring PT to treat patients, especially for niche-based practices that are not a lot of digital content out there for dancers and gymnasts, for example?
That's a great question, Dwayne. I think the first thing to me would be, making sure you have the time, right? So do you have the time? Like really the first step for either one is to make sure my business is systemized such that it maximizes my time. And then once I do that, either I can hire someone to buy my time back, or I use the systems to buy some extra time back, which is what I did with my business. Was I set it up so I've got all these systems running, and I started my my blog in the LeBauer Consulting. And I did it, it was like, well, I got to, people are asking me the same questions over and over again, so I got to share it. And so if I'm going to go back and look at that, and I say, okay, it depends on what you want too, because some people know they want to hire multiple people and even have another location and do more. So you systemize and you hire someone to buy your time back so you can grow your business or focus on your digital products, or you use the systems to extract more time, hire an assistant so you spend less time on the phone and doing little things here and there, and you have more time to create your online products. But they both start with that, some of these online services and systems that are going to give you more time. And if you can't get enough time doing one, you got to hire someone so you can do it.
Cool. I love that answer. So what I got from that, Aaron, was one is maximize your time first with whatever you're doing currently. And then two, sounds like it's based on goals. What's your goal ultimately? If it's to scale, then we're probably going to need, or scale in terms of locations and all these things, we're going to need more people. Right. If you're watching this live, guys, I would still love to know what would success look like for you? Is it financially? Is it being able to see less patients? Is it your lifestyle? Would love to know. Robert Rogers says the switch from employee to owner mindset has taken a lot of time and effort for him to accomplish. And Aaron, right. I want to go back to what you said about valuing ourselves and how you are able to work with so many people who probably come to you and ask what I imagine would be a very normal question. Aaron, how do I ask for $85, $100, $200 for physical therapy services? Like, how do we do that? And I know it sounds crazy. I know you hear it all the time, so it's probably nothing new to you. But when someone says that, what goes through your mind, and then how do you help them? What do you say to them?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is like, okay, like we've got to change your mindset, because how do I value, like, how can you put a value on helping someone like dance at their grandson's wedding, right? How do you put a value on a mother who can now pick up her kids, her 2-year-old kids? How do you put a value on someone who, their identity is based around a sport and they haven't been able to do it for 6 months and now they can do it again? I'm like, okay, so that's really what we're doing for people. And the way that we start to accomplish that isn't how do I ask for the money? It's how do I ask the right question to the potential patient so that they understand what we can actually do for them. But I need to actually understand what they want and what they value, because they don't value PT. They value being able to do this activity that's missing from their life. And I have to figure that out.
I'm so fascinated by this because a dear friend of mine who someone is absolutely amazing I recommend his work to their work to anyone that I come across in terms of getting clinically better and clinical excellence. And I always talk to them. We get in kind of this struggle of, do your clinical skills allow you to charge more money? And I find the interesting thing is I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm coming to think that if you can't communicate in the beginning what it is you do, it doesn't matter how good your skills are,
right?
Unless someone else can vouch for them at that level. How big or how important, I guess I don't want to give you a leading question. How important is your ability or one's ability to communicate the impact that you can have in their life, to being able to convey value in the sense of someone understanding and respecting a price that you put in front of them?
It's more important than anything else, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I have to be able to get them a result.
Sure.
But there's a lot of different ways to get people results clinically. I mean, even me just being a fresh student out of PD school, I know more than the patient sitting in front of me. So it's more the questions that we ask and the conversation we have is much more important than pretty much anything else, because it's really about, you have to get the patient to buy in to you being a decision maker with them in their healing journey. And if you can't get them to buy in that you're the best person to do that, or you know how to, you know exactly what they want and what they need and how to get them there, then, you know, nothing else really matters. Doesn't matter how much price it is. You know, they won't come see you for $25.
Well, I guess I would love to ask you, there's probably tons of people out there who are like, "Ah, I'm not very good at sales." One, because, you know, we didn't get those 2 or 3 semesters of sales training classes that, you know, PT school doesn't give.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got people like you who are out there who are teaching these things, who are actually helping people to get better at communicating what they do. If someone's out there right now struggling, Aaron, who is like, man, I've actually had 6 people reach out to me, Aaron, and they want me to help them. And all I do is I tell them what I can do, and I tell them it would be $100, and they say no.
Right.
How do I get better at actually getting someone to buy in or to believe that what I'm offering them is worth the price that I'm putting out there? I guess a long-winded question. Any sales tips for people out there who are just struggling right now, who are getting people reaching out to them like, Aaron, would you work with me on the side? Right. Or like, I don't even know how to have this conversation. I don't even know where to start. The
number one thing that you want to remember, it's not just a question, but it's when we get into the sales process, there's 2 pieces to this. Number one, if you don't get an objection, you're not actually selling. Okay, so if someone says yes, that's not a sale. That's like they're taking your order. So objections are normal and expect to get an objection. Number 2, the goal really is to position the result they want to the like kind of the price of the program, not the time you're going to spend with them, to the price of what you do, you know, the cost of what you do. Does that make sense? So it's like we're positioning their investment to their goal, not the price to the amount of time that you're going to spend. And if you can do that, one, we got to find out their real goal is, but if you can really get it to the point where, you know, okay, I'm going to expect objections and I know how to handle them. And the whole goal of this is to position the program I think is going to be best to them, and the investment it's going to take to accomplish that to the transformation this person wants, and put those together, rather than I'm going to spend an hour with you for every week for the next 8 weeks, and it's going to be $185 per hour. And they go, ooh, once a week, $185, that's really expensive. But if you're like, hey, Mrs. Jones, you know, my recommendation is you get into our back to your family program, or whatever you name your program. It's just $2,000. And when you get started, we're going to finish we're going to write you a plan of care and do all these things so that you can play with your kids, lift them up again, put them in the car, and feel strong and healthy and like a great role model for your 16-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. Oh, great. People are like, oh, I want that all day long. So we're positioning the transformation to the investment, not like, you know, time to money.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think what I'm gonna have to do is put that on snip that part out and put it on repeat for people over and over and over again. I think you said that so perfectly. And I'd love to know, if you're listening to this, if you're willing to be vulnerable enough. I'm guilty of this at times, of attaching your value to time. Attaching your value to time. If you feel like you've been doing that, or you have done that in the past, or have always thought of physical therapy as an exchange of time, just comment time. If you're watching live or on the replay, if you've ever fallen into that belief that my price is determined by the time that I spend with people, I'd love to know if that's been you, because I see it over and over and over again in our field, in our industry. Aaron, what you said, I think just strikes such a deep chord into what we're doing, which is we're so trained to think of our time as what's valuable, right, not the actual outcome someone's getting. Which leads me into, speaking of time, subtle transition here. Speaking of time, people want to fast track their way into learning this. You recently wrote your book, The Cash PT Blueprint. Mm-hmm. Do you mind telling us a little bit about why you put this book together?
Yeah. I'd put it together because, well, people like need to hold something and read something, you know, to learn it. And, you know, it was hard because when I first got started, I was like, I'm going to write a book. And I was like trying to write it and organize my thoughts. I'm like, this is not working for me. So instead I was better on video and created a course. So I created a course. Well, after a few years, I was like, okay, I need to get this information out to more people more easily. So we wrote a book, and I was able to put all my scripts and questions like, how do you take my insurance in there, but also training on the mind, how do you start a practice and what's that mindset like, and some of the details. How do we do some marketing, like the big keys to marketing, and what's in the book that's not in really my courses is stuff on the entrepreneur mindset. Like, how do I flip the switch to go from working as an employee to a business owner, and creating my own reality by being in control of my own decisions. Like, I can't be in control of the decisions of the other people, but I can do that. And so I was like, we got to get this out like in a book. Like, people got to see it in a book, because people learn by doing, hearing, seeing, touching, and reading. And I just want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity, no matter what learning style you are, to get a handle on the book.
Yeah. What do you feel like is the who do you feel like is the right person to pick up the book and to read it? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it's best for someone, or do you feel like it goes across the spectrum? Someone who's been doing who's been doing it for a while, as well as the person who's just thinking about it?
Yeah, I'd say it's good for probably 3 kinds of people. Someone who's thinking about it, like maybe you're in school or you got a job and you're like, I'm thinking about it, right? Okay, I want to learn a little bit more. I want to dip my toe in the water and see what this is all about. And then it's for people who are just getting started, because it really walks you through, like, how do you get started and what do you do, and can lead you through that process. But it's also for people that have been in practice for a year or more and want to go back and look and see, well, what are the big marketing strategies that Aaron's using? Like, just one idea in there can shift a business. Just one of the scripts, can really change how the phone conversations go. So there's something in there for almost anyone, except maybe people who are, know that their way is the right way, and they're never going to learn from somebody else. They don't want anyone else telling them what to do, even if it might be helpful. And that's the thing, is I think that the whole goal with writing it was that hopefully it was going to be a handbook that people were going to put in their pocket and write in the margins. I think it's a little too big to fit in my back pocket, but that was the whole idea, is that I wanted people writing in it and doing it, just like, .com Secrets was for me, Russell Brunson's book. Like, I've written in the margins multiple times. I was like, I want this to be a book like that for therapists. So hopefully that's how it's come across. That was my big goal for it. So,
well, if you're watching this, if you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're listening to the podcast, just shoot us an email at help@healthyfunnel.com, and we will shoot you a link to Aaron's book. If you want the book, if you want to get the Cash PT Blueprint, which I highly recommend that you do, please comment book. All you do is comment book. I'll make another post in the group tomorrow as well to get the book out. And I want to make, Aaron and I didn't talk about this beforehand, but I really just want to give a massive endorsement to Aaron. And if you're out there right now, if you're struggling, if you feel like you were meant to be a business owner and you feel like you're tired of working for someone else, if you feel like there's something more for you to do out there, I cannot think of someone better to walk you through setting up your cash practice than Aaron. Aaron has helped so many people. Most people don't know this. Aaron has helped Alex and I with our business, which is not even a cash practice. Like, it's the farthest thing from a cash practice. It's totally digital. It is totally an online business. And Aaron has helped us with our business principles of understanding strategy, of doing so much of these things. So, Aaron, I really just want to take a second to say thank you for what you've done for us. I also want to say thank you on behalf of so many people of what you've done by just putting yourself out there.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And I really do. So
I want people to know that there are other ways to work with you as well. So if they pick up the Cash PT Blueprint, they like the book, or if they're like, man, Aaron, I've been thinking about this a while. Like, I would love to read a book, but I also I know I need your help, right? I need to be surrounded by a group of people who can help me out. Where should people go? Is there ways to work with you beyond the book? I think a lot of people just still don't even know, because some have just come into our group and they're just trying to figure out what's going on. It amazes me. I think it's just because we're in this world. I mean, I still get, just like you, talk with so many people every week, and I'll be like, oh, well, you need to check out Aaron LeBauer. And they're like, well, I just figured out about this world like 2 days ago. Who's Aaron? I'm like, oh man, all right, you got to go to this group. Are there ways for people to work with you, or what do you recommend that people do in terms of seeking you out?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I just so everyone's clear, the book is free. So you guys, if you contact Will and Alex, they're going to get you the information on how you can get a copy of the book for free. All you got to do is cover the shipping and handling, and we'll send it right out to you. And in the book, there's there's some information, and there's some special links in the book that you can't click on. I'm just going to look at them, which will send you to some additional free trainings.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a free training for people just getting started on how to start a cash practice, and a free training for people who have been in practice on like the systems you need to implement in your business to create more time and freedom. So those are some other ways you can get that directly from the book. I also have some online courses on getting started. I have online courses on sales. I have them on marketing. I have one online course called PT Business University, or PT BizU, that my mastermind students basically asked me to create for them. And it's really like, once you've got a successful practice, how do we start taking our business and making it something that's like a real business, like what Fortune 500 companies have? Like, how do I not pay as much tax as I have to? Like, I shouldn't have to pay the same amount of tax as I am if I'm employed, but when you own your own business, you kind of have a double tax because you pay your own self-employment. So how do we change things so that I'm investing properly? I'm got my business set up, and how do I have the mindset of investing and getting a big ROI? All that's in that course. So the main ways are book, Cash PT Nation free Facebook group. I've got the blueprint. I've got a mastermind group, and some free webinars. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. Yeah. I mean, so all those things. And if you want to find out more information about them, I don't know if the easiest place is to go through Facebook or through my website, but I'm sure we can get you guys that information, and people can go see what they need and get what they want.
Hopefully. I just have to say, if you're watching this and you need inspiration, I can think of very few people like Aaron who can serve as that inspiration. We're talking about someone who has now gone on to successfully do cash practice on his own. He then scaled it, now has people working with him, for him. I'll say with, just sounds, people on his team. He has he has a mastermind program taking people through how to start their cash practices, how to scale their cash practices. He's doing all of this, and he was able to take 81 days out of the office last year. So you're watching someone who's actually practicing what they're preaching. This isn't a pie in the sky. Here's what I think can happen. Aaron, I think you're an absolute testament to what can be accomplished. I think people probably don't know the amount of hard work that you've had to put in, because it all looks so shiny and great. And maybe one day we'll have to just talk about the realities of how much you've invested in yourself.
Yeah.
And what you've done, because we've had talks that you wouldn't be where you are. And I know Alex and I wouldn't be where we are if we hadn't actually taken those risks of investing in ourselves and being surrounded by people who can help us level up. Robert says he got the book a few months ago. He says, "Thank you so much, Aaron. Would this be a good time to ask a question I posted on the original post before we go too far into business topics?" Yes, Robert, let me pull up your question real quick. If you have time for one more question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, I know Aaron's got to run in a little bit. Let me ask your question, Robert, though. Okay, I got it. So Aaron, Robert Rogers asks, how do you recommend a PTA such as himself handle initial contact with possible clients or other medical professionals that may want to work together? He then goes on real quick to say his long-term plan is to hire PRN or 1099 PTs to both do evals and treats. But in the short term, it may be for eval only and him doing the treatments. Right now, it appears to be a speed bump in the process as everyone expects me to complete all aspects of care as they assume that I am a PT.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go back and reread
No,
that?
I got it. Yeah, no,
Yeah, okay.
Robert, that's a great problem. That means you have the right mindset. If everyone thinks that you're the PT, so probably, the easiest way to do it would be to find a PT in town who you jive with, to come in and do the evals or the re-evals. and you position them as like part of the team, as, you know, not only you're the expert in this, but they're part of this team approach that you have. Because there are PTs out there that would love to do it and they just want a little extra work, or maybe they want to see, you know, do 5-10 evals a week, however many you're doing it, and they've got this job doing something else, or maybe they have kids or whatever, and you can probably find that person to subcontract with you until you get big enough to hire them full time or hire someone else full time. Because then you just, even if you hire a PT full time to do treatments, you're leveraging your time versus theirs to service your patients.
Yeah. I guess I'd love to real quick, Aaron, to follow up with that. How do you, and in the beginning, because I mean, I've heard you talk on this a lot, is in the beginning when you came out of school and you were a doctor of physical therapy and you went to talk to physicians that maybe didn't see you as the credentialed person that you were.
Right.
How did you go into a mindset, or what mindset did you put yourself into before you had those conversations? So I'm just thinking of Robert, who might be thinking, well, maybe this is a barrier of this communication that I'm being looked down on. How would you position yourself, or what things helped you to feel confident going into those types of
well, number one, like here's the interesting thing is that I went into it knowing like, hey, I'm coming in to meet someone. My intention was to meet someone who I view as a colleague, right? And so doing that didn't really work out. So I stopped going. And I started going towards people who viewed me for the expertise I had, which, and they also had my patients. And, you know, so when a patient comes from a physician, they're usually not good referrals for us because, you know, we're seen as like a tech, you know, a part of the, you know, implementer of the physician's plan of care. When a patient comes from a massage therapist, a yoga teacher, even just from Google, we're seen as a decision maker in the process, and it's a much easier conversation and transaction. So, I mean, number one was you have to understand, like, here's my role and I'm coming in to help you. But if we're approaching people that don't view us as like we can actually help, or, you know, they don't have time, or I have to buy lunch to get in front of them, like, I'm not going to do that. I think I don't think I should have to pay for someone's office to have lunch to speak to them for 10 minutes. Yeah. And sometimes they can be great source of business, but it kind of comes as a cost. So that's why I just kind of try to figure out a different way to do it.
I love it. Aaron, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your Wednesday. I know you've got a ton going on. And I just want to say thank you so much that all you do for the PT community, and it's affecting even beyond PT. Now you're helping people in all aspects who are growing. Just thank you so much. Any goals for 2020?
Well,
goals, but
thanks, Will. I appreciate it.
Goals? Yeah.
Any PT related goals? Yeah, I want to, like PT related goals. I want to hire another therapist in our clinic.
Hey.
But I think that the big thing is, I don't know that I can take off more time, you know, like it was 81 days with my family and friends and 27 additional for work. So it was like 100 and something days.
Yeah.
Which is great. So I want to have more time, more freedom, to be with my kids and do things, but I love working and I love helping people. Another big goal of mine is we've got a big live event coming up in March. So I want to sell tickets to that. Yeah. So
cool. Are those out there if anyone's interested? Can they go?
They're kind of out there, but it's Christmas time. So, but it's PT BizCon, and it'll be a business marketing and growth event.
Whoa. All right. Well, you'll hear us promoting that real soon then. PT BizCon. Be on the lookout. Reach out to Aaron if you're interested in going to that in March. Where's it going to be?
It's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, in a beautiful part of the country. It'll be warm, probably that time of year in Charlotte. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Guys, if you want Aaron's book, The Cash PT Blueprint, all you have to do is comment book. It's totally free. You just have to cover shipping and handling. Just comment book. I'm going to make a post tomorrow in the group as well. But if you want the book, comment book or reach out to me. Say, I want Aaron's book, and I will get you the link to get Aaron's book for free. You just have to cover the shipping. You just have to, and then you just have to read it. You have to implement it.
You have to take action. You have to click on the link. You got to like say, I want to do something different.
Absolutely. And if there's someone that we look up to who's doing a ton of that, it's you, Aaron. And we just want to say thank you so much for taking time to be here.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. Please tell Alex, thank you as well. You guys have been really awesome. You guys are crushing it and helping so many people. So I'm really honored to be here today.
Man. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron. Guys, if you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you for tuning in. If again, message us, email us at help@healthyfunnel.com if you want a book. And hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night, day, wherever you're at. Take care.
Thank you.